Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Padajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Padajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Purudikacharya Astotar to the Shishimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Purudikacharya Astotar to the Shishimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 8th day of June, 2021 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 12 entitled Devotional Service, and we're in text numbers 6 and 7 at the top of page 515. Ye tu sarvani karmani mahi sanyasya matparaha. Ye tu sarvani karmani Mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Okay, we'll just do that first verse. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mang dhyayanta upasate. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena Mam Dhyayanta Upasate. Chant. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Mitri. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Prabhu, you want to go? Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Chris. Yetu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Okay, we'll do the next one once. I'll chant it. You can repeat. Tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nacharat parta maya veshita chetasam. Okay, I'm going to run through the synonyms for the first verse. Yea, those who, to, but, sarvani, all, karmani, activities, mai, unto me, sanyasya, giving up, matparaha, being attached to me, ananyena, without division, eva, certainly, yogena, by practice of such, bhakti yoga, mam, upon me, dhyayantaha, meditating, upasate, worship. Translation. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pita, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Purport. It is explicitly stated here that the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. In pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him. His duty is to render service to the Lord, and if he does not, then he will render service to Maya. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. Prabhu, sit on this side. This is a couple. Yeah, that's it. Let's see. As stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. One should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. One should work only for Krishna. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. That is the standard of devotional service. The devotee does not desire any achievement other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His life's mission is to please Krishna, and he can sacrifice everything for Krishna's satisfaction, just as Arjuna did in the battle of Kurukshetra. The process is very simple. One can devote himself in his occupation and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Such transcendental chanting attracts the devotee to the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord herein promises that without delay, he will deliver a pure devotee thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer the soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process, and others take the opportunity in various ways. But as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. In the Varaha Purana, this verse appears. Niyami paramam sthanam archiradi gatim vina, garudas skandamaropya yatecham anivaritaha. The purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord himself. He clearly states here that he himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, comes at once, riding on his bird carrier Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from the material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. In the Narayaniya, this is confirmed as follows. Ya vai sadhana sampatti purushartha chatushteye taya vina tadapnoti naro narayanashriyaha. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activity or cultivate knowledge by the mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yogic processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifices, charity, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. The conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter. Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekang sharanam braja. Aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshiyasyami mashuchaha. One should give up all other processes of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life, because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead, Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance to him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, as I pointed out before, the word tu in the Sanskrit, it's never at the beginning of a sentence, at the beginning of a verse. It only means, on the other hand, however, that's why this translation begins with but. So the contrast is with the previous verse. Remember, Klesho Dikadatatste Sham Avyaktasakta Chetasam, where Krishna is saying, after giving the impersonalists some leeway here, saying that after a long time, if they're favorable to others and they're kind, then they can attain me. But now he's saying, but it's very troublesome. Adikatadas, klesho adikatadas. For those who are embodied, well, that's us. We have a body, right? Does anyone here not have a body? Dikatesha avyaktasakta chetasam. Because you have to try to fix your mind on that which is invisible, has no qualities, is uncertain. Avyakta, he has his two words. Avyakta means invisible. And therefore it's very difficult to make any progress. And the whole purpose of it is to get liberation. This is what the Mayavadis have. They certainly don't want to go back to Godhead and attain love of Godhead. They don't believe that Krishna is the ultimate reality. They think that Brahman is, the impersonal Brahman is the ultimate. So here in the verses that we studied today, he says, but if someone simply engages in my devotional service, giving their activities up to me, then I swiftly deliver them from the ocean of birth and death. That part is taken care of by Krishna. In other words, there's no extraneous, troublesome a sadhana or austerity that you have to go through. Just practice Krishna consciousness, and everything you desire in terms of liberation will be taken care of, and you get much more. We learn in the Nectar of Devotion and the Bhagavatam and throughout that the happiness enjoyed by the Brahmanandis is like a drop of water in an ocean compared to the ocean of the Nectar of Devotion. And the pleasures that are available in sense gratification, which are very flickering, is like a drop of water compared to the ocean of Brahmananda. You understand? So the whole point of this chapter is to make it very clear there's no point in trying to be an impersonalist and merge into the impersonal Brahman. Now, I wanted to fix one mistake I made yesterday in not citing the verse that Srila Prabhupada refers to in this long purport. This text number 5 is one of the most quoted verses in this chapter, because Prabhupada, if you notice, if you listen to his lectures or if you read his purports, it's not long before he starts speaking against the Mayavadis. There's plenty of that in the Bhagavad Gita. So one of the strongest verses against the Mayavadis is this text 5, how troublesome it is and difficult it is. And so the verse that Prabhupada's referring to is a prayer of Lord Brahma. Now, you know this pastime. I was just reading. It's such a delightful pastime where Brahma comes down after the killing of Aghasura, and Krishna's enjoying with his friends there, on having lunch on the bank of the Yamuna River, and they're all looking at Krishna and they're all enjoying their lunches. And so Brahma, he's bewildered already. He says, how can this little boy with a little flute in his waistband and holding a fruit salad in his hand with yogurt, this is my master? This is my Garbhodakshai Vishnu who created me? So he has some doubts. So he steals he doesn't harm anybody, but the calves started off by wandering away. They want their lunch also, so they're going, and they belong they're in the forest. So the boys aren't even cowherds yet. They're calf herds. There's only calves. So they said, oh my God, the calves are missing. Let's go find them. He says, no, you stay. We're all set up for the lunch. I'll go find them and bring them back. So he goes, he can't find them. He comes back, his friends are gone. Brahma's put everybody under some mystic slumber, hidden them away in a cave somewhere. He's testing Krishna. Is this really God? Does he have the mystic power? So Krishna, he expands himself in an identical set, and it's thousands of calves and thousands of boys, and perfectly matching every boy, all their idiosyncrasies, who even the mothers can't recognize that these aren't their own children, and this perfect calves. Calves they're all individuals. So he goes on, as if nothing happened. He goes back home. The only thing that doesn't happen, he doesn't speak. Nobody says anything about the killing of Aghasura. Usually when Krishna would kill some demon, the boys would come home and, Mother, do you know what Krishna did? He killed this big donkey demon out in the forest with Balaram. Oh, that's amazing, and the Bhagasura and like different demons. But here, nothing. So that was peculiar. Parikar Maharaj, why didn't they speak about it for a whole year? Because that's weird. And so then Sukadeva began to explain, because these are actually not the same boys and calves. These are all Krishna. So to make a long story short, it went on for a year like that, and the love was increasing more and more. And Krishna he was so merciful, he gave a chance to all the mothers and all the cows to personally suckle him and give their breast milk. So it's very delightful. Now, at the end of one moment of Brahma's time is very elastic. I mean, even in one lifetime, as you get older, you realize how time is accelerating. You're telling me that 2021 is almost half over again? Wasn't it just January? Didn't we just have a riot at the Capitol? I mean, what's going on? Time goes faster as you get older. So that's just one example of it. But Brahma lives so long, Who can give me a figure? And 40 billion. That's just a rounding error, the 40 billion, So so his time, so that's 100 years for him. He feels like it's 100 years. So a moment after his time, he said, I better check up and see what's happening, because maybe I'm messing with fire there. He goes back and nothing has changed. The boys are there, the calves are there, Krishna's playing, everyone's having lunch. And then he checks, the boys are sleeping in the cave, the cows are sleeping in their cave. What's going on? He comes back, and Krishna realizes, oh, he's bewildered. The whole thing is called Brahma Vimohan, the bewilderment of Brahma. He's the head of our sampradaya. He's the most intelligent being in the universe, and he can't figure it out. So anyway, so then all of those calves and boys turn into Vishnu forms, and they're all strewn with, as Prabhupada says in the Krishna book, covered with tulsi leaves and tulsi manjaris, and all are living in entities. They're all worshiping them. You know, they all have, you know, their four symbols, the lotus, etc. Anyway, so it's too much for Brahma. He can't, you know, fathom what's going on. So finally, Krishna just pulls down the Yoga Maya curtain, and he's standing again, and the boys are there, and the calves are there, and he's got the little fruit and yogurt in his hand. And Brahma realizes, this is God. And so then he offers these prayers, which are really wonderful. Our acharyas have all given long commentaries. That's why if you go to the Krishna book and you look at chapter 14, it's a long chapter, because Prabhupada goes to all those commentaries. It's very important. So anyway, the verse, that's just introduction. The verse about the uselessness of giving up bhakti and trying to get mukti by impersonal is this one, his prayers. Shreyak sritim bhaktamadasya de vibho, talking to Vibho, the Lord, who's standing there with the fruit in his hand. You know, this boy, but he's my Lord. Shreyak sritim bhaktamadasya de vibho, klishyanti is the word klesha again. Klishyanti keva laboda labdeye, te samaso klesha la eva shishyate, nanyetata stula to shavagatinam. One who gives up the auspicious path, Shreyak Sriti of bhakti, Shreyak Sriti bhakti udasya, give it up, who gives it up, my Lord, and instead takes to the path of kevala bodha, that means in personal realization. Teshamaso kleshala eva shishyate. At the end, the result of it all is the trouble you went through it. You're not getting anything. Just as if you try to thresh some rice, you know, containers, you know, whatever. But they already have been threshed. There's no rice in there, but you're working like anything, you know. And all you get at the end is your sore arm and trouble. You don't get any rice. It reminded me when I first read that verse, and it's very appropriate. We're here in the near the ocean. How the Greeks, in their ancient mythology, they had a certain metaphor for madness. If someone takes a big iron rod, you know, and goes out to the ocean and starts beating it, beating, you know, beating till his arms, you know, just tired. He has to put it down. What's the use? You know, what's the point? Now you can expand that to all of the efforts people have on the material side. This is someone who's trying to get liberation by this difficult process of impersonal. That's useless. What to speak of the hard work that people go to try to enjoy sense gratification in this world? It's so obviously futile. You know, I always listen to lecture Prabhupada. He gives this example in Bengal. Oh, I spent so much time building this house, and then it burned down. You know, what's the use? But everything we try to create in this world for our happiness and security, the security is important. Yoga and kshema. Did you remember this phrase in the Bhagavad Gita? Because I personally give the devotees yoga and kshema when they fix their minds on me. Yoga are the things we need to live. And kshema is your security, the safety. You may be living in a nice house, and you've got everything you need, running water, electricity is there, you know, I've got enough money in the bank. But there's a tsunami coming, you know? Can you be relaxed and just, watch TV? No, you got to get off the beach, right? And go up to the park there on the hill. And everyone's afraid, you know? And we've just had it with this pandemic. It's infecting everybody. You know, for a year and a half now, practically. It's going to, you know, and now it's starting to ease up, you know, with this vaccination. But there's a lot of, the greatest result of this has been a lot of mental anxiety of people, which just wrecks any of your happiness. But that is the material condition. Dukaliam ashashvatam. Ashashvatam means everything is temporary. So your enjoyment is temporary, and there's misery coming, and you just experience it, and you carry it with you, PTSD. And, you know, there's no way of resolving the material conundrum. It always ends in old age, disease, and death. And all your plans are fruitless. And you start again, you don't know where, you know. So here Krishna says, by contrast to this impersonal path, one who Sarvani Karmani Mai Sannyasimatpada, who is connected with me through yoga, giving up the fruits of his activity, right? Giving up their activities to me, devoting me without deviation, ananyena eva yogena, meditating fully, thinking about me. For these devotees, this is a little definition of pure devotion. I am the swift deliverer. Now, has everyone seen the painting? There's a painting of this, where Krishna is coming down and the devotees in the ocean, right? And he's reaching down from Garuda to pick us up. It's very moving, actually. Samudharta, the deliverer. I am from the Mrityu Sangsara Sagara, the ocean of death, the ocean of birth and death. Bhavami Nachadat, and not in a long time. The point is that for the impersonalists, it's so difficult. Birth after birth. But for the devotees, if they're sincere, in one lifetime you can achieve success. Maya Veshita, he emphasizes again, their minds fixed on me. So this is Krishna's promise, and Prabhupada emphasizes, as you've noted, the chanting of Hare Krishna. That this is the easy way in this age especially for achieving perfection. Right? What is that? What is it? Harinama. Harinama. Harinama eva kevalam kalo nasteva gataranyata. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, there is no other way, there is no other way, there would no other way that can never be found. But to chant Krishna's name, with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, O Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever unto your lotus feet bow. That last part I added on, because I needed another line, but it also kind of embodies the mood of Trinadapi Sunichena, isn't it? The whole idea is that you're chanting in full knowledge that you have no other shelter. I often point out, it's very interesting. In the 11th canto, there's this wonderful series of instructions from the 9 Yogendras. There's 9 different lessons. And one of them describes the different avatars that appear. And when it comes, what is the avatar for this age? This verse we should know. Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Krishnam, Sango Pangasta Parshadam, Yagyar Sankatana Praya Janti Sumedasa. This is one of the scriptural evidences for Lord Chaitanya being an avatar of Krishna, or being Krishna himself. So what does it mean? Krishna Varnam. Now this means different things. And in this context it means he belongs to the category of Krishna. In other words, he is Krishna, and he's always chanting these 2 syllables, Krishna, Krishna. Varnam means syllable. Krishna Varnam, Tvisha Akrishnam, but his complexion is not blackish like Krishna's, meaning it's golden. Sa-anga upanga astraparshadam. He's accompanied by his angas, his limbs, those are very, very close associates. Ramananda Roy, Subdhammadar, Nityananda, very close associates. And those who are a little less close, his whole entourage. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the whole Adi Leela, there's many, many devotees in Navadvip, and then later there's the devotees who stay with him in Jagannath Puri. So these are his Angas, Upanga, and the Parshadas, his companions. So he's not alone. And then, so how should we worship them? Yagyar, Sankirtana, Prayaya. Mostly, not exclusively, but mostly, just like we worship deity here, Lord Chaitanya. But for the most part, by Sankirtan. As a Jagya, Sankirtan Jagya, Harinam Sankirtan. Yajanti Hisumedasa, you have to be very intelligent. Those who are intelligent will worship that way. Now, a few verses later, it describes the glory of this Kali Yuga. Now, we understand in the first canon that this Kali Yuga is not very good for self-realization. Prayen alpaya shaksabhya kalavasmin yugejana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrita. For the most part, we don't live that long. Our little 70, 80 years is nothing. In previous ages, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 years. That's the first problem. And if we do live long enough, or we are intelligent, then first of all, for the most part, people are lazy in the matter of self-realization. For us, this is a huge crowd. We've got. I've been giving classes here since '89. This class. Yeah, I've been here a long time. And for a long time, we had one Mataji who was coming. I told her, we can't just have one Mataji. You have to at least bring a friend. No YouTube or anything. So she would eventually had 2, and then like that. All right, I don't care. and there are venues, of course, devotees give classes everywhere, but compared to the millions of people who are out there, it's a very small number still. So that's the thing, Manda, very lazy in the matter of self-realization, very energized in the matter of sense gratification. And then if you happen to be interested, Sumanda Matayo, chances are you'll be misguided. Because there's so many cheaters and bogus yogis and things out there, who are ready to take your money and give you some miracle mantra that you become God in 6 months, whatever, So that's the other qualification. Manda bhagya, therefore people who are unfortunate and always disturbed. The mind has to be peaceful in order to actually practice yoga. There's so many disturbances. But here it's saying that this verse I'm about to give you is in the 11th canto. It says this Kali Yuga is really great. The demigods are worshipping it. Kaling sabhaji antyaya guna gya sarabhaginaha. Yatcha sankirtane naiva sarva swarta obilabhyate. So he said they're worshipping this Kali Yuga. Those who are Aryans. You know the word Aryans. Unfortunately, it's been kind of polluted because, we know why. But the real meaning of Aryan is one who knows the values of life, who is cultured, and who strives for self-realization. So those who really know, they worship this Kali Yuga. Why? Because in this Kali Yuga, because Lord Chaitanya has invented, just by Sankirtan, one can achieve all of one's real goals in life. Now this word swarta is very important. Breaks up into swa-arta. This comes up periodically. Arta means something of value. Oftentimes it means material, money or something like that. But in this context, that's not what it means. Swa-arta means, if you will, the goal of the soul, the actual interest of your interest, not just your senses and your body. So sarva swarta, so we have so many goals. We want two main goals we have. We want to get out of this bondage of birth and death. And we want to go back to Godhead and revive our original loving relationship with the Lord. So those are the two main categories. Now one includes the other. If we go back to Godhead, we automatically get out. But even without knowing all of the details, we should at least want to end our cycle of birth and death. The Buddhists know that. The impersonalists know that. That's general. So here it says, sarva swarta bilabhyate. So we're very fortunate. Now, how can we take advantage of? Of course, we have to take up Krishna consciousness. But what makes us so fortunate? Because the best qualification for being successful in chanting Hare Krishna is very simple. Trinadapi sunichena, tadaropi sahishnana, amanina mana kirtani eksadahari. To be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, to think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant His name incessantly until the final hour. So how can one think oneself is lower than the blade of grass? Well, you have to actually understand and see your actual situation. And this age reminds you of how unfortunate we are. In previous ages, you live 100,000 years, and everyone's a Brahmin, mode of goodness. The urgency of getting out is not so obvious, even less so on the heavenly planets. You see that? That's why it's so important to live very simply, because it's intoxicating to get, some kind of material, money and wealth and fame. All of that puffs up the false ego, and because we're so ignorant, we think, well, I'm doing pretty well here. I don't want to get out, So, but if you take a realistic view of this world, it leads you to become desperate to get out, and they let me chant Hare Krishna from the bottom of my heart. Krishna, save me, save me, save me. That's good to chant in desperation. What's not good is to chant lackadaisically. So therefore, there's advantages in this age. The main advantage is Lord Chaitanya has come. And we have gotten, by Prabhupada's grace, by his mercy and compassion, the actual truth, and we can associate with a pure devotee by just opening Prabhupada's books. And we had a verse recently, I wasn't here, but this is a verse that appears 3 times in the Bhagavad Gita. It's important. Tuliyama labenapi naswargam no punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kamutashisha. You know this verse? Tuliyama means equal to. Labenapi, a single half a moment association with the Bhagavad Sangi. A Bhagavad Sangi is someone who has association with the Lord at all times, an intimate associate. In other words, a fully Krishna conscious, pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. So even a half a moment's association is the value is much greater than quick list here. Swarga, going to heaven, heavenly enjoyments, Napunarpravam, that means liberation, not coming back. Not it's not. It can't be compared. In other words, this can't be. Vanarpravam, Bhagavat Sangis and Martyanam. What to speak of Martyanam, the regular things we consider valuable in this material world. Temporary sense gratification. So why is that? I mean, the famous verse of Lord Chaitanya said, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sastri Koi. Who can complete it? Lava, Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. The same word lava is there. Lavenapi means half a moment, So when you repeat like that, it's a very great emphasis. Association with devotees, association with pure devotees, Sadhu Sangha. All the Shastra declare Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi. Just a half a moment's association with such a devotee can give you perfection. Sarva Siddhi, all perfection in life. How? By, if you're receptive, getting the seed of bhakti planted in the heart. You see? You open Prabhupada's books, and you read, and if you have some faith, you become intrigued, become interested, you get another book, the association, the seed is planted. That moment's association. So that's why it's available here in this Kali Yuga at this time, and we should take advantage. The whole thing is take advantage. What is that verse Prabhupada quotes all the time? Labdva sudurlabhamidam bahusambhavante. Manushimartadam anityam apiya dhira turnam yateta napadeta namritya yavat nikshayasaya vishayakaru sarvataksya. There's so much packed into this verse. We have to understand that we've attained this human form of life after many, many other births. We've been around this Ferris wheel for countless times. And then we've been human beings many times, but wasted in sinful activity, down we go, So labdva sudurlabham, very difficult to attain. After many, many births, what did we attain? Manusham, it's obvious, human form, man. Manusham artadam, here's the word arta again, which can give you this svarta, the real value of life, which is, we know, just to know that is so valuable. Getting out of the round of birth and death and going back home, back to Godhead, and resuming our eternal relationship with Krishna, a loving relationship. That's the artha. It's available in human form only. But it's temporary, anityam. This form is not permanent. So one has to be dhira. One has to be sober-minded. And then what? That's only half the verse. The next sentence says what to do. Turnam yateta. Turna means immediately. Don't waste time. Chaktva turna masheshamandalabati, like the six Goswamis, right? They didn't think, should I or shouldn't I? I don't know. Should I cash all out and just surrender? Let me think about it. Let me consult. Let me get online and see what they say. No. As soon as you get the inspiration, cash it, go for it. So turnam yateta, immediately strive. Napateta anumritya yavat. As long as you haven't died yet, as long as you still have this body, napateta anumrityu, it's following you. Death is following anumrityu yavat. What should you strive for? That's the whole point. Nikshayasaya, the ultimate good, which is getting free from this birth and death and going back to God and resuming our loving relation with Krishna. That's clear from the rest of the Bhagavatam. Nikshayasaya. And then he says, Vishayakalu sarvatakshat. In all these other forms you've inhabited, all the human forms and non-human forms and superhuman forms, you've experienced all varieties of sense gratification. And where did it get you? You're still in a body, birth, death, old age, disease. In other words, it's just been a big trick, a big dream. So therefore, don't waste time with that. Don't waste time at all, and strive for the ultimate good. And that's what we're trying to do here in Bhagavad Gita class. So any questions or comments? We only have 2 listeners.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Vijay.
Dravida Prabhu, thank you very much. My question is related to the following quote from the purport. Quote, in pure devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great and that the individual soul is subordinate to him, end quote. So,
Okay.
Prabhu, my question is, how is it possible for the infinitesimal part and parcel of Krishna, and here we see that he is subordinate to him, how is it possible for something that is small and tiny and infinitesimal to realize how the infinite is great, how God is great? Because characteristically and symptomatically, what is small because cannot understand what is great. And some scholars say that the very moment when the small starts to understand what is great, then he becomes as great as the great. So I'm confused here. Any help, please?
I'm confused about why you're confused after all these classes. But the idea is that on our own, we can't understand anything accurately. We're completely covered, as you pointed out, by the modes of nature. We're very infinitesimal. Our powers of our senses are certainly limited. What to speak of our mind? So we're helpless, unless we get the help of the all-powerful. The whole idea with bhakti, as Prabhupada points out here, and this is Krishna's pointing out, it's so difficult. Why is it the whole klesho digratas tesham? Because you're on your own. Krishna is not pleased by these impersonalists who are against him, ignoring him, or saying that he doesn't exist or that he's subordinate. So he's not pleased at all. So he's not going to help them. So therefore, you're on your own to try to get out of the birth and death. So okay, I won't think of anything. I won't sense anything. I certainly won't enjoy anything. Don't go there. Yeah. Can you imagine? Without the positive element of Krishna consciousness, there's no possibility for us or anybody to really get out of this bondage. So in that sense, then your paradigm is very accurate. We're infinitesimal. The material energy is huge and powerful, and you can't get out. But when the master of the material energy, in other words, when the governor, the jail keeper is on our side, he can open up all the doors. All right? Daivi yesha gunamahi mama maya daryatira. That Krishna says, you can't. It's impossible on your own to cross over this material energy. It's my material energy. It's divine because I'm controlling it, composed of the three modes of nature. So as you say, we're helpless. But those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. Why? Because as he says, I help them. This divine energy is mine. She's my servant, and I tell her to let you go, and you let you go. And we can experience that in devotional service. If you just, as Prabhupada points out twice in this purport, chant Hare Krishna. If you seriously do that, you call out to Krishna, you follow the rules and regulations that have been set down, and you practice devotional service, what's the experience? You're becoming less and less attracted to enjoy those things that you maybe once enjoyed. And you know that, that's what, kept me bewildered. That was harmful, And the point is, it's not that you're saying, I'm not going to do it. You say that, but before long, you don't have to say that anymore. I can't imagine doing it. Who cares, I mean, more than who cares. It's disgusting. It's frightening. How could I have ever done that? I point out that when I was a kid, this was completely foreign to me. I had no idea. I was smoking cigarettes. I don't know if anyone ever done that. It's the craziest thing. But at that time, in the mid-50s or early 60s, everybody was doing it. If you're going to be cool, So I started. God. Really? I got to get it. I got to get used to it. Otherwise, I won't be cool. I won't be the cool guy. Anyway, so I got habituated. I was smoking. Luckily, I didn't smoke that much. I smoked maybe half a pack a day for some years. But it's like you're helpless. I mean, what are you going to do? You don't have anything else. But now I think, geez, how could I ever do that? All the meat eating and whatever. I mean, we've done all of that stuff. But it's completely changed now. there's no desire left for it, but at one point it was like a lot of desire for it. So that's the material energy loosening her bonds by Krishna's order. And in proportion to your development of attraction for Krishna, and especially through the medium of his holy name, attraction for the chanting of the holy name, then Maya releases you. So the answer to your question, Vijay Krishna Prabhu, is that Krishna helps, which is the whole point of this verse, is that I lift you up. Otherwise, we're just flailing away in this ocean. We have no chance. But if Krishna, the all-powerful master and controller of what's imprisoning us, helps us personally, then we have every chance of being liberated. Even in this lifetime. Prabhupada loves this verse. Iha yassa hare dase karmara manasagara. Nikalashap yavastasu jivan mukta sauchade. That if in what your activities, iha, are all in the realm of hare dase, in other words, service to Krishna, which ones? Karmana manasagara. Your active senses, your knowledge acquiring senses, your mind, everything is linked up to Krishna. Then you should be known as a Jivan Mukta. Even in this lifetime, you can be liberated. And Prabhupada showed that. He was practically superhuman, what he's doing at his age, He would take morning walks. I don't know if he ever walked on this beach, but the beach. And, his young disciples, 20-year-olds, are running, getting out of breath trying to keep up with him. Getting up at 12 at night and doing those books, traveling all over the world. I mean, when I travel, of course now I'm getting a little old, but even when I was younger, it'd be a real austerity to take a few airplane trips, Probably going around the world 14 times. It's just amazing what he was able to do. So he showed us how Krishna can empower one to do things that are seemingly impossible. And the most amazing thing was to keep a serene, we talk about dhira, we mentioned that, attitude, even though so much trouble is going on in the society, and even the health crises and so forth. He was equipoised. It's describing right in the second chapter. So the point is, we have evidence, that we can see. It's so important. As someone living the program, and if we practice, we feel ourselves becoming detached. So the answer is very simple, is that although we're infinitesimal, we can be empowered by the infinite. And that's called the Shaktivesh. Although, Shaktivesh avatar is one thing, but we all get a little empowered, if we were sincere, to do things we could never imagine doing before. Giving up things we could never imagine giving up. So that's the way it works. And otherwise, if we try to do it on our own, we'll be overwhelmed by this material energy. All right, we got time for one more.
Haribol Dravida Prabhu, is there time for another question?
Okay, go ahead.
Right, so my question is about this line here in the purport.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
It's Jessica.
Jessica, I thought so, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't want to guess.
It is right, one should work only for Krishna. It does not matter in what kind of work one engages, but that work should be done only for Krishna. Right, so I remember hearing that, but if you're, say, a bartender or you work in a slaughterhouse, that work has to be given up because that's directly opposed to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
But it just seems like every job in the material world, okay, maybe you're not like directly killing a cow, but you're working for people who eat meat, or you see what I mean? Like if you go.
I totally see what you mean. Yeah.
So how can we do that and offer it to Krishna? That's my question.
Well, it's like this. There are certain occupations which are clearly out of bounds, and you have to try to avoid them. But there is also this idea of you're bound by your circumstance. If you're in a certain situation, you have certain responsibilities, paying off debts, and so many things, and you're not ready to just throw up your hands and join a temple, which is really radical. Then you have to somehow exist. And so you minimize your involvement with that, and you make plans to change your activities so you can be, so it's the idea is that we have to be practical. But, I've often thought, and this is another great benediction of being inside, taxes. I mean, this is what I became fully aware of when way back before I even knew about Krishna consciousness, and I was against the war in Vietnam. Many of you're all too young now, But back in the 60s, anyone who was, sensitive at all was just horrified by what was going on in Vietnam. You know, you know, from probably reading in history. And so I was, I went and I read Thoreau and non-cooperation. I didn't want to become part of the whole scene, but I still had to have summer jobs to finish my school, and anyway, I was paying taxes. But since I've been in ISKCON, I haven't paid any taxes. Of course, I pay a little gasoline tax and everything. You have to. But all of this money, so much of it goes to the arms. $760 billion a year. America is just horrific. So you want to try to contribute as little as possible to this sinful society, but if there's a certain limit to what you could do. So therefore, the chanting is so important, and your proactive activity in devotional service, which nullifies it, neutralizes it. Every time you chant the holy name, even once. I mean, there's so many verses. Just once chanting. Right? Madhura Madhura Medan, Mangalam Mangalanam, Saklanangamavalli Satpalam Chit Swarupam, Sakradapi Parigitam, Shaddaya Heliyava, Bhagavadanamatam, Tadiyate Krishna Nama. Of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of all the Vedic writings, it's the transcendental fruit, the very form of spirit, unalloyed and absolute. When uttered even once with faith, or uttered once with none, from birth and death it surely will deliver anyone. And in the end, it brings pure love for Krishna, life's true aim. So cast away all doubt and chant Krishna's holy name. There's so many verses like that. So living in this world, Jessica, means that we're going to be contaminated somewhere or other. You go buy the gas and you got to pay tax. Who knows if it's all used for the roads? So we're entangled. You have money in the bank. What do they use that money for? It doesn't sit there. They loan it out in some sinful activity. So we're implicated. Therefore, the constant purification is necessary to neutralize anything that we absolutely can't avoid, and eventually, hopefully, we'll just be chanting Hare Krishna, and there won't be any entanglement. So that's the idea. But whatever we do, we have to try to be conscious that we're giving as much of the fruit as possible for Krishna, and that way we don't become entangled in the fruits. That's very much emphasized throughout the Gita. That's right here also. Okay, we have to adjourn. Thanks for tuning in. You probably have noticed the YouTube channel is down, and so maybe that's why you're all here. These are all people who used to be online. I don't know. I know you've been around, I think. But we're trying to do something about that. Why? Did you see what it said? They violated our principles too much. You know what? I mean, we haven't shown any nudes or anything. I mean, I don't know what they was thinking of, I mean, did I criticize Google in some of my classes, or something? I don't know. Anyway, we're trying to work it out so we have a live YouTube channel because it's very important. But we still have Zoom. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.